Welcome back to Interview Ninja Step 37, helping the whole person to learn and develop all four intelligences: their emotional, their social, their applied functional, otherwise known as practical or common sense, and finally their academic intelligence, to empower them for the modern and global competitive world of work. There's lots you can do so that you are at the front of the queue rather than the back of the queue when it comes to getting a good job.
When I try to work with someone, what I need to avoid is the parent-child mode of communication. I'm always trying to get it to adult-adult. And I want the other person to engage with what we're saying, but also see it as the whole thing as a set of suggestions that they are pulling from me and they're going to think about. So in order for you, let's call it student at this stage, in order for you to be empowered, if I'm always telling or questioning in a very structured way,
it becomes a student-teacher relationship.
It does.
And not an adult-to-adult.
Yes.
I do agree with you.
So there are ways around that, which I use deliberately. A teacher usually defends the fact that they know best and they're always right. Okay? So occasionally, by being deliberately wrong, your mind will say, it will come away and it'll say, that's wrong. I know that's wrong. And then the next step from that is you start thinking, okay, that's wrong, but what's right? Okay? So you're engaging.
Okay.
You'll notice it if you look back on the sessions with Alex. Alex is very good at engaging people and the impro and empowering his audience. But that's because they don't perceive him as the elder tutor coming in to tell them something. They see him as a kind of showman, entertainer. So there's no status battle or problem there, all right? Whereas with what we're doing, with the age gap and the nature of what we're doing, there is a barrier to be crossed, which all of modern education has created, right from when you go to school and you're told to sit still and do this and do that. Yeah. Whereas, as you probably know, I'm very much a fan of the old style of the symposium and the Greek style and the Roman style of dialogue.
Which is what? Learning from each other one-to-one type.
Learning from each other and also having a mentor, because you go to Aristotle's school, which became known as the Lyceum or the Academy and so on. And as a young man, you went there, you lived there, probably, and you mixed maybe for a year. But you were in a controlled environment. You know, the guy that really you were there to learn from was kind of there and hung around, but you just chatted with him and probably drank the odd glass of ouzo or whatever they did.
It wasn't like lessons or whatever. No.
Correct. No, it was very much, here's a topic, I'm going to talk to you about it a bit, but first of all I'd like to hear what you think of it, and then why don't you guys go off and talk about it? For example, what is truth? Okay, so people go away and think about what is truth, what's good, what makes one thing good and another thing not so good, what makes a person good and another person not so good. Those kinds of philosophical questions were debated. And then he'd set them tasks and he'd say, okay, you're going to defend this guy, he's a general, he's just marched into a different country, and in order to impress his power, he's killed the first 100 people he's come across. But then from then on, when people toe the line, he's a really good leader. and kind person who gets them organised and structured and doing agriculture in a better way. Now, and you know, that might have been Marcus, and you, Tiberius or whatever, Titus. You're going to be the leader of the people who were invaded, and this guy's coming in. You already had a plan for how to make your country better, and he's coming and he's killed 100 people. So which of the two is the best man? Go away, think about it, come back, and then do a address the group, and then we'll all vote as to which we think is the better man. So you have to go away and learn how to structure an argument and put your case, and what were the criteria by which you were going to judge each of those people. So it's what's called critical thinking.
This is at the heart of a good education, both then and now. In modern organisations, it's still important you know how to persuade and negotiate and help people find the win-win. The best universities still have a debating society where you can sit in and watch and learn the methods and then maybe join in and practice yourself. There's some good YouTube videos on the Oxford Union debates, and they host debates regularly with the very best oratorial and rhetoric type speakers, so you can watch excellent performers and just see how powerful good oratory can be.
Which is why on the very first session I gave you a book called A Critical Analysis of Prose. I've got another book I want to share with you, lend, on the criticism of poetry, because I want you to start thinking in lyrical, artistic ways, because you're interested in music. And I was studying the lyrics of
Continuum,
John Mayer's thing, and in it there's a booklet.
With the words in, right?
It's got the words in it. And so I'll just start very briefly. It says, waiting on the world to change. Me and all my friends, we're all misunderstood. They say we stand for nothing, and there's no way we ever could. Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. We just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it. It's poetry. The way the words are put together is poetry. He sings it, but there's meaning. There's deep emotion.
Those words are still poetic, aren't they? They could be spoken, they could be sung.
Yes. Yeah, you could read those lyrics as a poem, and it would work. And then in the same way, there's a chorus. So we keep waiting on the world to change. We keep on waiting on the world to change. Now, that is a chorus in a song. But if you listen to famous speeches, like I Have a Dream.
Yes, they always have choruses, don't they?
They do. They have shorter, less obvious themes. But a powerful speech will keep coming back. It will bring the listener back to what's the real purpose of the speech and the emotion that they're trying to capture. So one of my great heroes is Marcus Tullius Cicero, BC. And I think he died in about 43 BC. So he was in the late Roman Republic. He was around during the time of Julius Caesar and so on. And he's the main source for the modern world of Roman thinking in that period of time. He's the only person whose letters and writings have survived to the extent that they have.
Even today, Western laws, our courts, our libraries, our government buildings, etc., are based on Roman law and architecture. Even the buildings like the Senate in America and the British Library and so on, they're all mimics of Roman architecture. Cicero's writings are especially influential in ethical opinions about what is fair, kind, moral, friendly, just, and so on. And they're at the heart of most modern philosophy.
And his writings got adopted and integrated into Western philosophy. So he is kind of the source, the wellspring from which a lot of our modern perceptions and attitudes spring from. So what I'm trying to do here is help you to realize what's behind what I'm doing with you. Okay, I could, if I was a teacher, I could, over there are some books which your camera can't see, but what are they? There's one of the...
It's a bit of a jump, but before we end step 37, we thought you might be interested to see a trailer we're working on with the university, and we're talking to them about skills for life. And it kind of fits here as we move forward to skill Corben up for the real world. And then from here on, we go back to our normal format.
Skills for Life is an Institute of Practical Learning organisation course presented to you by your student union. It enables you to empower yourself, become a champion in the increasingly hard world of work, discover the secrets of your own inner strength, watch and learn the only effective way to build mental strength and resilience. Unlock your potential by joining a young hero named Corben on his journey to build the world he wants. Only you can change your world. You need to develop new and powerful behaviours. And now you can learn how, with training that normally costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can learn to learn, earn, and grow. Good luck. Don't be surprised by the setting, the slow pace, and the style of this training course. Experience has shown that one-on-one personal dialogue coaching is the fastest way to help students to understand and optimize their own behaviors. This, now you have discovered it, is your opportunity. Carpe diem and semper aude.
Seize the day. Dare to be wise. In step 38, we go back to where we cut it off quite sharply to go on with that trailer, and we talk about the Socratic dialogue. It's a method of teaching in more detail, so that you've got a much better idea of how you can use the way you think to optimize the learning that you get from this type of teaching and understand your own part in your own journey. Party on.